Ty Hayworth, Persuasive Speech. Alright, so imagine you're in the sink one day and you go to get a glass of water, and when you pull it out there's a bunch of dirt and oil in it. Well, this is caused by hydraulic fracking. Hydraulic fracking is the process that oil companies use to, when they push water down through a hole drilled into the ground, and when they push the water through, it breaks up the rocks deep underneath the ground, and it brings up the natural gas and oil that we use on an everyday basis in our cars. So according to the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, or known as the EPA, hydraulic fracturing is a well stimulation process used to maximize extraction of underground resources like natural gas and oil. So hydraulic fracking, our problem is it's harmful for the environment and it pollutes the groundwater. Our solutions can be, we need to find alternative resources to get this natural gas and oil from the ground. We don't need to just cut it completely. We need to find alternative resources for it. So fracking, it destroys our local environment. It isn't just water being pushed down into the ground. There are harmful chemicals that are being used while they're pushing it to actually bring this oil back up. And according to the Frac Focus Chemical Disclosure Registry, fracking uses harmful chemicals for example, they use hydrochloric acid, and that's used to dissolve the minerals, and it initiates cracks in the rocks, which from this, it causes damages in the environment. As you can see from my picture on the slide right here, you can see the cracks seeping the oil and dirt into the natural groundwater. And this can be dangerous for our environment and the people who live in this area, because they're getting all these toxins into their tap water that they get out of their sinks every day. And according to the EPA study and studies conducted by oil and gas industries, that 20 to 85% of fracking fluids may remain in the formation, which this means that for the short term, that there's going to be water in there, and then over time that it's still going to stay in there. So after they're done fracking there, it's not just going to all go away. It's going to stay in there for years to come. So this projects for a longer term of danger for people who live in this area. So we need to find alternative methods, because if we don't find alternative methods, things like these are going to happen. And this is a more graphic image of the oil leaking into the groundwater, because if you see the red, it's hard to tell from this TV, but you can see the red leaking into the water. So there's some alternative methods that we can do, and one is dynamic fracturing. And according to Northwestern University professor Zdeněk Bazant, that instead of pumping enormous amounts of waters to fracture the shale rock, we should use kinetic energy. And the kinetic energy at a high rate shears it causes shearing generated by an underground explosion to reduce rocks to small fragments to release the gas trapped inside its pores. Now, if you see from my picture here, this has not happened yet, but this is research done by this professor, and this is a simulation of what would happen from the explosions that he had made in this image. So our next alternative method is gas fracturing, and now Canada has been successful with this since 2008. And according to the Inside Climate News, for gas fracturing is similar to hydraulic fracturing, except for water they use propane gel. And the propane gel, it reverts to vapor when it gets down into the ground. It reverts to vapor because of the pressure and the heat from down deep inside the earth, which when they bring the natural gas and oil back up, it doesn't bring back the pollution and it doesn't seep into the groundwater. So it naturally just disappears. And that is much safer than getting that glass of water that we saw on my first slide and having all that nasty oil and dirt and water in it. But some have countered this, saying that the natural gas that they bring from the hydraulic fracking, it saves 25 to 50% of water overall by doing this, instead of for using natural gas for power plants instead of coal powered plants. Now, they only care about the water usage. Now, that's understandable. We save water when doing this, but if we don't, but they're not paying attention to the dangers to our actual environment and to the people who live in these areas, which that is the only thing that bothers me about their counter arguments. Now, hydraulic fracking is very dangerous. I've established that, and it's unhealthy for our citizens. And according to the National Resource Defense Council, Americans shouldn't have to accept unsafe drinking water just because natural gas burns more cleanly than coal. It's important for our economy, our environment, and it's important for our people. Everyone wants to be safe, and everyone wants to know that just because you want to get a glass of water doesn't mean you shouldn't have to worry about what you're going to drink. And you shouldn't have to worry about what's going to happen. We need to have alternative resources that can actually keep us from having these dangers, and so we can get this oil that we need, and so that we can protect ourselves. So the next time if you're in a community that uses hydraulic fracturing, be cautious before your next glass of tap water. You never know what's going to be in it.